Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Simple Stories Saturdays, a monthly YouTube hop that I share with my friends. So obviously, as it's called Simple Stories Saturday, what I wanted to show you is the papers that I've picked for this time. I've mixed together 3 or 4 ranges. It's the Simple Vintage Garden District, Simple Vintage Botanicals and Simple Vintage Cottage Feels. So I dug through all of these ranges and what I had left, and I picked out everything that was blue, green and yellow, because the last layout I made with these ranges was last month and it was definitely shades of pink, so I wanted to go with a completely different colourway this time. This photograph was taken recently of me and a couple of friends on a hen do in Greece, and I really loved it, and by accident we're all wearing shades of blue, so that is where the inspiration for this layout came from. Last time I did use these ranges, I did notice that I had quite a few titles and bigger words left, so I definitely want to try and include them in this layout. So the plan is, in my mind, is to lay out as many bits and pieces on the left there, left of the photo, and see how I feel about how they look. I didn't do too much planning in advance apart from gathering the supplies, so you'll just bear with me as this is going to be quite spontaneous. I tend to cut stickers off the sticker sheet as you saw there so that I can get them into position. So they do look a little bit like they've been chewed by a dog, but that's just the way it usually is for me. The reason I don't know which ranges some of the embellishments are from is that once I've created a number of layouts from a range, I tend to then mix them in manufacturers. So everything from Simple Stories is together and stored in a box together, and but they tend to merge together a little bit. So I only know the names of the ranges generally from the big sticker sheets. But I'm not too worried about that. I could research them if I needed to, but I'm happy that the idea of this is to use Simple Stories, and I really wanted to use up these bits in these colourways. So I'm going through the bits now, just making sure I'm not missing anything and putting to one side things that I actually think won't work, so that I can actually reduce the supplies in front of me. I find quite often that if I've got limited supplies in front of me, it actually makes me more creative than if I've got lots of supplies, if that makes sense. So it's becoming obvious that I don't really want the yellowy bits, and I do want a few greens. There's some really nice green foliage behind us in the photograph, but I am definitely going to stick more to the blue tones. So I'm quite liking the way that it's looking so far. I want it probably wider at the top and smaller at the bottom to accommodate the photograph. So I'm just checking out, there's lots of hearts, lots of butterflies that were in these ranges. I really like that actually a lot of this goes together really well, and that you can mix and match without feeling that it's jarring at all. So I've gone through and I've picked out some blue and green papers, and I'm actually looking then to see if there's anything I want to put behind my photograph. So just come across a few more stickers. I have to look at everything. I don't know why I do that, but I like to feel that I'm not missing out on any supplies that could have worked really well. So you'll always see me tweaking. I'm sure some people could have made this layout in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, it's probably taken me a couple of hours, but the process is actually part of what I enjoy. So not that I've got time to waste, but I just enjoy it. Find it very therapeutic and a big change from what I do as a job. So I've just found a couple of papers there. This blue one I really like. I think this is actually from the Ancestry range. In fact, I think it was Simple Vintage Ancestry. I have very little of that in my supplies, but I did use it for a class that I designed a few years ago, so I think that's where that blue one's from. I remember it. So there's this lovely limey green as well. I think that's going to help that pop off the page. And now I'm actually feeling that I've quite focused the way that is going. So basically I'm going to go back through, moving things around to where I actually want them. Some of those stickers are actually doubled up, and I just want to move things around, filling the gaps, overlapping a few, just to see how they're going to finally look. There's a few bits and pieces. I'd like to get some circles on there, and I'm just bringing in a circle there, but I still want it to run vertically as well. So I'm just trying not to overcrowd it. I think it's very easy sometimes to throw a lot at it. So I'm just trying to be a little bit sensible, space it around, have a look at the pieces that really work. I really love the flowers and the butterflies. I think it's got a really nice feel with the outdoor photograph. The words seem to fit well. So it's just now mainly stickers, some of the foam hearts and any other little touches that I can find. I'm trying not to, I want it vertically, but I'm trying not to have too many horizontal lines. So I'm probably just overthinking it, if I'm honest. But as I say, I do enjoy this. But this will be the last time that I really go through these. So there's some of these brads that obviously I haven't used many of those before. So I'm going to see if there's one or two of those that I can pop in as well, just to add a circular element to this column. So if you haven't watched the Simple Stories Saturdays before, I think that this could be month 4 maybe, that we've been doing this once a month, and there's lots of inspiration. All my team members are using different ranges. We've all got very different styles. Joanne set this up, so I really would recommend you hop around and have a little look. I bet you've got some Simple Stories in your stash. And if you find some inspiration to use them up, then all well and good, because that's exactly what we're there for. We'd just like to provide some inspiration to use these wonderful ranges, because they have, particularly over the last few years, I feel like they've really upped their game, Simple Stories, and there's some really stunning papers and collections out there. So the last few bits and tweaks are still going ahead there. I can't help it. And I bet you're shouting at the screen, leave it alone, woman, move on. It's really difficult, actually. I get in a zone when I'm scrapbooking, and I like it to look right, because actually, in theory, I'm going to lift this off again, because none of this is stuck down, because I don't make any spontaneous decisions, God forbid. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that that's kind of the way that I work. I've decided I'm actually going to make the white about 11.5-inch square, and I'm going to border it with the blue. That's another Simple Stories paper. Now you see me bring in an offcut of paper there from one of the ranges, and it had like a texture to it, a print, and I decided that actually I would like that behind these words. So I come in with a stamp, and this is a distress oxide or distress ink, and a stamp. As you can see, I don't have it on a block. I don't want it to be perfect, so I'm just trying to get some text to run down where that column is. As you can see, I've moved the layout over to the right. I've brought in a completely new but identical piece of cardstock, because this was a trick from a friend of mine, Sam's. Why would I tip all that off when I'm happy with the placement? So if you have enough, bring in a separate piece to do your mixed media or whatever, stenciling, stamping on, and then you can literally move it over. Some people take photographs. I do that as well of a layout, particularly if I am going to have to tip it off, if it's on a pattern paper or something. But actually this tip works really well. So also it means I could actually gauge where I wanted the stamping, because I don't want to cover it all, but I don't want it to be the focus. So I'm moving the photo across thinking, yeah, no, that's the way it's going to work. And then I'm thinking, where am I going to start? Usually I start somewhere in the middle, just moving bits into position again. What I'm going to do is just transfer them over briefly, cutting off some of the backgrounds, and then I will stick it down off camera, which will take minutes, but I am going to use some foam pads for some of this. But look how less stressful that is, transferring it over from one to another. Just checking how I like that stamping. I know it was a black ink pad, but it's actually an old one, so it's not come out very black. But there actually is black touches in some of these bits of ephemera with the words on the ticket and one of the butterflies. So it does, and there's dark colours in the photo too, so I think that black, even though it's come out quite grey, picks up really well. You'll find a journaling spot there with the butterfly. I am going to add journaling to this when it's finished and it's not on camera, because there's some really sweet things I want to say about these two girls that I've known a very long time. So this is the layout all stuck down with some nice definition behind with foam pads, and I've just added a couple of little bits and pieces, I think a couple of extra brads and some shenanigans from my store. So please hop round all the rest of the group if you have enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.